Hello, this video clip walks you through some of the features of an innovative app exchange app that can work with any Salesforce CPQ system or any other CPQ on the Salesforce platform. And we also plan to extend it to other areas such as orders, invoices, subscriptions, etc. This is based on our experience with about 45 CPQ implementations and the pain points. We have documented those. We'll go through them and then we will spend most of the time looking at how we address them and also how several new capabilities are added. This app exchange package is free for the mid-market. There is the next slide, which shows you the principles on which this package is based. So the fundamental approach of this multi-user collaborative line editor plus and estimator, because you'll see that you'll be able to do both, is that this app is within the Salesforce platform, so no data leaves Salesforce. The user also remains within Salesforce, so we're not taking the user outside of Salesforce. We are focused on complementing, not replacing. So we add additional capability, but things that are working well, those continue to work as they do today, minimizing any change management issues. And that is no change that is needed. It is 100% plug and play. You can put this on any Salesforce CPQ implementation and it will add instant value, as you will see in the demo. The list of pain points addressed are on the website and we will go through them quickly. So this is the industry's first multi-user collaborative code line editor plus, which will supplement or complement your existing code line editor. The pain points addressed are in three categories. One is user interface. So you would be able to customize the column layout at an individual level, add remove columns, colors, fonts, conditional formatting, custom filters, on-the-fly grouping. You would be able to add as many tabs as you need, and you will see that in when I actually show you the system. So it's an unlimited number of tabs, and you can expose any object. So for example, you would be able to see your quotes, your invoices, your orders, your subscriptions. You would also be able to see the child objects for the quote line if there is a bill of material or a production BOM or a routing. You'll be able to see all of that right within the same screen because it is tab enabled. The second category is the ability to upload items into the quote through an Excel document, not a CSV, and also the ability to configure it where if you, for example, have a 1,000-line Excel document, you can put in a configurable parameter such as 100 and it will automatically create 10 quotes for you with 100 lines each. And finally, the multi-user collaborative quote management feature where it allows a user to share portions of the same quote, so a filtered view of the quote. So let's say I'm working on a quote which has service items, manufacturing items, sales items, maintenance items. I need to collaborate with my colleagues. They will be able to come in and see only the service items. They can then add their pricing or their costing or their discounts, whatever they need to work. Their view would look exactly the way they're used to working on it, and it will all roll up automatically to my code. So one code can be shared with multiple people. The converse is also true. Multiple codes can be combined into a single code. So you can aggregate multiple codes into one code so that you can see a view and then you can export it out to Excel. You can use this to estimate your service cost or put any other estimate together which can roll up to your code. Finally, you will be able to also use it to surface any other related objects such as consumption schedules for usage-based billing, or as I mentioned earlier, the manufacturing cost, the bill of material, routings, and the service cost. So now let us take a look at the demo. Here is a CPQ system, a simple one. I have 4 codes, and I also have a custom field called code type, which has these values: sales, service, costing, manufacturing. I also have grouped these 4 codes together by making these 3 codes as child codes to this one as a lookup. We could group them by using the same opportunity, or we could group them using a custom field such as a deal number or a deal type. So any number of ways. I've chosen to group it using a lookup, and we'll see how that grouping comes into play when we aggregate multiple codes into a single code. So now let us go and take a look at code 0000. So here is a code, and it is a standard code, and the only difference that the user sees, in addition to edit lines, which is what they would normally click, they would now click launch QLE+, and this launches our app. And the user is essentially brought to exactly the same screen as they expect. This is the standard edit line screen, and it has 13 lines, this particular code. And we have these issues of, as we are aware, that if you scroll to the right or if you scroll up, then we lose track of what the column is. And it's not possible for the user to be able to manipulate anything over here. It has to be all driven by field sets and many other user interface related issues. The first thing you notice is a large number of tabs on the top, as you can see here. All these tabs are 100% configurable, and they are configurable by the user. So there is no IT support that is needed. So let me click on the first tab, which is the QLE+ tab. This will show you exactly what you see on the code, but it's a completely reimagined interface. It's a very rich interface where you can see the bundles grouped, and we can ungroup them. If I remove this, you can see it as a flat list, or you can group them using any parameters as you like. And whenever you group them, you can also roll up the subtotal. You can choose which field you want to use to roll it up. You can pin your columns to the left or the right. So for example, this is a code type. If I were to say pin to the left, and now if I move right or left, it doesn't move. I could pin any of these columns to the right. So I could pin this to the right, and once again I move it. And there is no limit to the number of columns you can pin. So if you wish, you can pin one more column to the right. And now you got 2 columns pinned to the right, 1 to the left, and then you can work. You can add, remove columns. So for example, if end date is not useful to you, you can just come over here and quickly remove any column that is not useful. We respect all of the existing Salesforce authorizations, so you will not be able to see anything that you're not authorized to see. You can then make changes. You can also make mass changes. You can save the column layout that you have right now, and that will save it for you personally. You can filter it at any point in time. For example, if I just want to see all batteries, I just get BA. The grouping can also be at multiple levels. So for example, if I were to go and unpin any of these fields that I have currently pinned and show you. So let's say if I'm not pinned anything at all, and let's say if I would, and this also shows you how you can remove the pin so easily. And let's say I were to now go ahead and group it using product family, but notice within product families we have many different products. So if I were to group it using product families, so in this case I have 2 product families, and then I can expand them and see what are the product families. But let's say I want to do a second level grouping. So as you can see, you got laptops and laser printers. If I were to say go ahead and group it using the product name, so now I got 2 levels of grouping. So I got hardware, and within that laptops or laser printers, etc. And you can always subtotal at any level as you want, and there is really no limit to the number of levels that you can group. So now I have removed the grouping. You see some colors over here, that is conditional formatting. It's very easy for you to set up the conditional formatting, like the end user would be able to do it. The end user would have a interface very similar to what they would expect in a Google Sheet, where they could pick any of the fields on the code line and then provide the color, the foreground color, the background color, and the condition, which is, let's say in this case, less than or equal to 25,000. Or you could also put multiple conditions. You could also do that on just about any field. So if you were to do a drop down, it will show you all the fields that are available for you to put a conditionality on. And this shows you where you can do a range such as greater than a certain amount and less than a certain amount. In addition to the conditional formatting, you can pick any of these numeric fields and it will instantly show you the average, the count, the minimum, and the maximum. You can also export it to Excel. I'll show that to you in another tab where it will be more interesting for you to see. And let me go ahead and now show you the multi-quote. So if you remember, this quote has 3 child quotes or 3 quotes looking up to it. This particular quote has 13 line items, but as you can see over here, but as soon as I click on this quote, this tab, it looks at the 3 quotes that look up to it and renders all of the line items from all 4 quotes in one screen. So now if you see over here, you have a total of 900 plus lines that have been rendered over here, and you can see the quote number changing. So it's quote number 3 over here, quote number 1, etc. And now what we are looking at is 900 plus lines instantly across 4 quotes. We have done this with thousands of lines. This is one way we propose to overcome the quote line limitation, because now you can work upon it as if it's one quote. And there are many scenarios over here which we can talk about. We can now also filter it by any of the parameters. So for example, though you're looking at 900 lines across 4 quote lines, it's very easy for you to just filter it and say, I want to look at only the sales quote type, or I want to only look at the costing lines. And once I'm looking at, let's say, only a subset of the lines, or I can even change the columns, and then it's easy for me to export this particular view or the entire view. So for example, if I don't put any filter criteria and now I'm looking at all 900 lines, I can export this as a Excel, and it will export it in a pre-formatted Excel, which can have your logo, etc. So this Excel file was just exported from that particular tab. It shows you exactly the columns that you're seeing. If I scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see that it has all of the lines that were across all the 4 quotes. The next tab shows you the service estimator. So this is showing you a view of all of those quotes, but it has filtered it off with a quote type service. So in case you would like to share this with a colleague who you like to work upon service line items, they are seeing only those, and even the columns are completely different. So since they are estimating the services, you got hours, complexity, adjusted hours, hourly rate, etc. So the field set that drives each and every tab can be configurable. And now you can use this to estimate any of your service costs, and that will roll up to your main quote. Now I'll show you how we can also expose a child object. So imagine there's a quote with multiple quote lines, and this particular quote line has a bill of material associated with it. So these are all the components that are necessary to manufacture this particular item, and hence the components are necessary and are maintained at a child level. Similarly, there can be a bill of material or routing associated with this as well. So now if I look at this quote line, in order to manufacture this quote line, you need to carry out all of these operations. So you need to carry out stamping, cutting, welding, etc. And there are parameters associated with that. Notice that both of these are objects that are a child to the quote line. As you can notice, this is a quote line and we are underneath the quote line. So when I bring up the manufacturing routing tab, what it does is it goes to the quote, it goes to the quote line, and it renders all of those child items underneath the quote line and shows it to you. So this is a way for you to see all of the manufacturing routings associated with a particular quote line. Right here within the quote, you can see all of the calculations here. You can see how they roll up into a particular quote line. Similarly, you can see the bill of material also at the quote line level. So this is another quote line, and these are all of the raw material components that are needed to manufacture this item, and they are surfaced right here, available for you to see and for you to be able to make decisions. So there is really no limit to the number of items that you can surface over here very easily. But more importantly, now you can type functionality, you can do roll-ups, you can see how they all come together either into the multi-quote or into a single quote. You can also expose your SAP orders, your invoices, you can expose your existing assets so that the person, when they're quoting, they can see what assets are already installed at this client. You can see what subscriptions the client already has or what subscriptions are ready for renewal. So in summary, what we are seeing is our ability to overcome the quote line limitations by being able to aggregate multiple quotes into a single quote, or by exposing any quote line child object. So for example, one use case is where the quote line has quantity 100, and if you like at a child level to the quote line, keep track of all of those 100 serial numbers, that can be a child object, but that can very easily be surfaced in one of these tabs over here. So not only do you see a quote level visibility, but you see the quote line child object level visibility as well. So the next thing we'll see is how we can quickly and easily upload items into a quote or multiple quotes. So there is a custom setting that is available where you can decide what is the batch size of the Excel upload. In this case, we just made it 25 to make it quicker. And this is the Excel file that we are going to use for the demo. So this is a file which, as you can see, has colors, formatting, multiple tabs. We focus on the first tab. And the only change that needs to be made to an existing Excel file, which people may be using, is that we add an additional line on the top where we point it to the appropriate quote line field. So that's how it knows where it needs to land. Of course, we respect all of Salesforce authorizations, validations, rules, etc. And in cases where you do not mention a field name, then it simply ignores it. This is the happy path. What it will also do is it will ignore the second row, so that way the salesperson has the ability to call the columns what they're used to calling it. So for example, they may call it category, whereas Salesforce may call it group, or they may call it discount percentage and they may want to use it, call it like that. So they are completely detached from the underlying details. So somebody can come in and just enter this one line, and that's all that is needed to the Excel file. And now we'll see how we can simply drag and drop this Excel file onto the code. Remember that we have put in a parameter of 25, and this has approximately, this is about 203 lines. So this will create about 8 or 9 codes automatically, or other 8 codes in addition to the one that we are going to drag and drop this file into. So let's take a look at that. So now I'm showing you two screens which are identical, but I'm going to click into this first, this code, which has no line items. As you can see, it's 0. So I'm going to click into this. This code has no line items currently. If I go over here, you see that it has no lines, and it is code number 1641, and hence I have this also listed. I'm going to sort it so that you see it by the highest code. And I scroll down over here and I see a couple of quote line import. If I import it and drag and drop this file over here, it will put everything into one quote. If I put it into quote line import config, then it will use that configuration parameter or the custom setting to then split the quote based on the parameter that I mentioned. So let me go drag and drop that file so that you can see. So you have tried it with many lines, with even 1000, 2000, 30,000, but I'm going to just take this one which has 200 lines, and you drag and drop this Excel file over here and then say import quote lines. So now it is going through the quote lines, and if I on the left hand side refresh my page, so that you can see the codes being created. As you can see, we started with 1641. It has started creating all these codes as we go. 42, 43, 45, 46, and it uses the original code where we dragged and dropped that file into as a parent code, as a reference. So it has finished doing it. And if I refresh the screen, you can see that it created codes 42 through 49. So it created 8 more codes in addition to this one. And we can, the last one probably just has the remaining 3 or 4 lines, and we can open any of these lines, including this one, to see what it looks like. So we have just seen the multi-user collaborative line editor plus along with all of these capabilities. We saw how we overcome the user interface issues, the Excel uploads, and the multi-user collaborative coding capabilities along with the ability to estimate service cost, aggregate multiple codes into a single code, take a single code and share it across different people, be able to surface child objects or any associated object to the code. And where we are going the next on our roadmap is to expand this to other areas such as orders, invoices, opportunities, and subscriptions so that you see all of them also with the same rich user interface. And finally, to the point where when a person is quoting, they would see all of the closed won opportunities and line items and the prices at which they are closed won right there in a tab next to where they are quoting. So all that is coming and many other exciting features. And the most exciting thing is this is all free. So this is available to you and we can set it up for you. And feel free to reach out at info@b2b-matrix.com. Thank you for listening.